Alright guys, welcome back, and in this video I want to start talking to you about WPA and also WPA2 password recovery. So basically this is a way that you can figure out the password of a WPA password protected network. And this is useful. Let's say that you just moved somewhere new and you set up your Wi-Fi, made a password, and then a few days later you forgot it. Well, you can actually get that back. Let's say if you forgot to write it down. And the reason that I'm teaching it in this video series is this is actually what hackers do whenever they figure out the password for your wireless network. So if your network keeps getting hacked and you're like, what the heck's going on? I clearly didn't tell anyone else my password. Well, this is the technique that they use to figure it out. Now, just a little disclaimer. What I'm going to be showing you guys is an extremely simplified version of what really happens. The exact 802.11 Wi-Fi protocol and also the algorithm that WPA uses for the encryption keys, it's actually really complex. I just want to give you guys a real brief, broad overview because in the next video, whenever we actually perform this attack, it's good to have a nice basic understanding of, just the fundamentals of what's going on behind the scenes. So this is essentially how WPA and password protected networks work. Whenever you have a device and it wants to access a password protected network, we'll say the password's bacon123, what this tablet needs to do is it needs a way to verify that it knows the password. However, here's the tricky part, it can't actually send the password to the router. Now, I say that it can't send it because the reason for that, let me draw a mean face on this laptop, is the reason that it can't just send it in plain text is because anyone that's listening, they could just be spying and listen for that password. Alright, that's kind of tricky. So how the heck is this tablet going to prove that it knows the password without actually saying the password? Well, what it does is it actually uses that password and puts it through this hashing algorithm. Now this algorithm and the specifics of how this algorithm, this formula works, they aren't really important, but I just want to give you guys, a quick demo. So it pretty much takes a bunch of different variables like the SSID, the MAC, some other things, and one of those variables is the password. So it takes all of these pieces, runs it through a hashing algorithm, and comes up with this weird answer, which is like 87 JK, I'm just making this up, 42 explanation point. So there you go. So the reason that this actually works is because this guy right here, if he knows the correct password, then he's going to get this answer right there. So then he can get that and send it across the network. So 87 JK42 whatever. Now this access point, it obviously knows the answer because it's stored in there, and it knows all the other pieces, so it's going to know that the correct answer is 87 JK42 right there. So whenever it figures out the answer, sends it across the network, the router is going to be able to check it and say, okay, this dude clearly knew the password. And the best part about this is how you can actually prove that you know a password without sending the actual password over the network. So it's all actually pretty fascinating. If you want to look it up some more, highly recommend that. And this isn't, all there is to it. From here, they do other stuff like make their encryption key, and once they both have the encryption key, that is how this tablet and this access point can encrypt and decrypt packets for a nice secure conversation. And if you remember a couple tutorials ago, whenever we viewed those packets and we were trying to read them, it looked like all mumbo jumbo. Well, the reason for that is because it was encrypted using the encryption key that was derived from basically this authentication method known as a four-way handshake. So this is all pretty technical, and like I said, we really don't need to understand most of this. What you really need to understand is this. If you can figure out all the pieces to the puzzle, then you can basically figure out everything else. In other words, once you know the pieces that go into making up the keys, then what you can do is not only can you join the network yourself, but you can decrypt everyone else's data that's on the network. Alright, that's pretty cool, but the problem is that we don't have these pieces. Specifically, we are missing the password. So, I guess that's that. I guess we'll go home. Oh, wait a second. Let's think about this. I mean, we may not have the password yet, but what information do we have? Well, we have the entire formula. I mean, not all the pieces to the formula, but we know how the formula works. And we also have some other critical pieces that we may need. I mean, we can see the answer in plain text, no problem. You may think that that's worthless, but I mean, we can get the SSID, we can get the MAC, and all of the other pieces except from the password, we can just pull out of plain text. Alright, so we have all these pieces, but the only thing we're missing is this. So what we can do from here is actually really cool. We can have a huge list of passwords, and we can just start plugging them in for this part of the puzzle right now. So we're going to run through a huge list, and whenever we hit one that gives us this answer, we know that that is the correct password. So this is actually called a dictionary attack, when you have a huge list of potential passwords and you're just going to go through one by one by one, and you're going to plug them all into this formula, and whatever one is going to give you this result, then you knew that that was the password for the wireless network. And once you have the password, like I said, not only can you log in and access the network, but you can also figure out how to make everyone's key and start decrypting all of their information. So I know it sounds pretty confusing, and like I said, this was just a real brief overview of what we're going to do. Believe it or not, it's actually easier just to do it. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you guys how this all works, and trust me, you guys are going to love it. So I'll see you guys then.